Hello, hello, hello. This is Adrienne Capricorntigress of Astrology, a and I'm so excited that we have Johnnie. Is it Mazzocco? How do you say your last name, Johnnie?
Mazzocco.
Mazzocco. Johnnie Mazzocco is here with us today, and she's going to talk a little bit about what she does. She works in the spiritual industry as well. She's a spiritual entrepreneur, and we're going to learn a little bit about what Johnnie does today, and get in, learn what she does. And I think someone else just did pop in just now, so we're going to admit that person here. And this person is Anna Twinney. I think I'm saying it right, Twinney or Twinney. We'll see when she gets here. This happens in the beginning. Like I said, there were several people scheduled. Anna, hello. Thank you for showing up. We were just starting this podcast, and I'm so excited to know that we've got several people here. And I was explaining to Johnnie, I always stack up several people because I never know who's going to show up. So it's great to see that we actually have two people here. And I'm going to go ahead and get things started. Let me just shut this down here. And we'll go ahead and get going. So I'm going to start by letting you guys talk a little bit about who you are and what you do. And I always go by alphabetical order. So Johnnie, you actually get a chance to go first and just tell us a little bit about what you do and how you got involved in it.
Yeah, so I'm a writer and I teach people to write, but I consider my writing practice my spiritual practice. And there's a whole story behind why that is, but I will just say briefly that in writing the first draft of my novel many years ago, I had this absolute transformative experience that changed my life. And so I really then realized the power of writing, just the act of the creative process. And that's what really set me on a spiritual path. And so I am a different person when I write than when I don't write. And so it's really essential for me in my mental health and my physical health and just all around health that I do that. And then kind of running parallel to that, I'm also a practicing witch. And, I've always tried to find ways to align that with my practice. And so I have full moon gatherings and that kind of thing. And I'm in an interesting place now with my business where I'm considering going off in a whole other path. And I haven't really developed this yet. It's a fairly new idea, but it definitely would allow my witch side to come out all the time and do what I do. And I'm also an ordained minister. And that was a fairly new, I've done ritual in the past for people, and I became ordained early 2020, right before COVID. And so I have not in my official capacity yet done that, but I've done plenty of rituals in the past. And I was recently invited to officiate a wedding. So I'm very much looking forward to that. And so I think for now, I will just leave it at that. That's kind of a nutshell description of
That's quite a bit. That's quite a bit that you've got going on there. Wow. How many books have you written, Johnnie?
Well, my short fiction has been published sporadically over the years. I spent so much of my life teaching other people to write that I neglected my own practice. But that said, this year I decided to change that. And so I have written first drafts of 2 books. So the novel, and then I have a nonfiction book that describes the writing method that I created called Writing Through the Body. And it's based on the 7 main chakras of the body. And then I'm also right now creating a short story collection. And so by the end of this year, I will have 3 books.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Like finish, so I can start pursuing publication. And so that is one of my goals, because I'm getting up there. I'm going to be 63 next month. And, I'm just very aware of the fact that, our time is limited and it's more and more limited every day. And so my own writing definitely is a focus for me right now. So I'm excited about that.
It's exciting, especially if you've been concentrating on others. Now you can finally concentrate on you.
Yeah.
And I feel the age thing. I'm 58 and I'm almost 59. And it's a weird feeling because I had seen a meme just last week, and it's like, oh, when someone tries to get a date and you find out they're 35, all you can say is like, thank you for being a friend, like, you know, the Golden Girls. And I'm thinking, my daughter's almost 35. They're calling my daughter a Golden Girl. Like, what does that make me? Like, crazy. It's amazing. Life is amazing. So Anna, tell us about you. I thank you, by the way, for your patience. I love just having the opportunity to just chat. And so I'm excited to learn more about what you do.
Thank you. So I'm an animal communicator, and one of my hats as an animal communicator is to bring lost animals home, to help support any veterinarians if they're looking for diagnosis, even act as a minister when they're crossing over, or talk to them on the other side when they're on the other side. So truly the hat of an animal communicator is extensive, because in a way we're getting to know every single species, from the reptile to the feathered friends, the scaled friends, from the furry friends. And this is something that takes around the world. I've been really fortunate. One of my business models is to team up with rescues and sanctuaries. And I'm really excited to say that Costa Rica and the UK and Europe and North America and Central America and all of these beautiful location voices to the animals. It was not my first career. My second career was as a horse, not giving a voice to the voices that way. Then I'm gentling wild horses and starting horses under saddle and promoting foals that have been orphaned and to bring awareness. So a lot of what I do truthfully is to give a voice to the underdog is the best way to say it. I can understand when we get up there and really say this is the second chapter in my life, where we're looking at the next 50 years as to when we move forward to be able to share with people, because we can now. We can share with people to be able to give them their gifts, unlock their gifts, and to ultimately say, you too can talk to animals. And it's not just something in Dr. Dolittle, but in fact, that it's our birthright. We just need to be able to tap into it.
Oh my gosh,
So
Anna, I'm just itching to ask you, like, when did you first discover that you had this ability to speak with animals or to feel them empathetically? That's amazing.
That's exactly the best way to say it. I became a horse whisperer and ultimately was the head of a whole facility and worked for one of the most famous horse whisperers in the United States. And so I already had my position there to be able to share it with the world. And I thought all of the horse's language was body language. I honestly did. I thought they talked through the ear twitching and the tail twitch and the body and so on, and even an energetic exchange. But I didn't necessarily realize that they would talk in pictures and that you would see pictures or movies, or like you said, feel it in your body, feel the sensation, feel the emotion. And out of the blue, in fact, I started to get visions. And nobody had explained that to me. Nobody had said that you could get the visions and that the animals would talk in another way. And so it was a very spontaneous and very sporadic part of my life. And then gradually I kind of thought that there's more to this. There's clearly more to this. There's something that I don't understand. And I started to explore it in greater depth. For me, it was for the horses. But then with the horses came the dogs and the cats and the parrots. And then with it came the travel. And you know, the really, really cool piece, you start to learn about these hats to say, okay, I'm going to help the veterinarians, or I'm going to help people with behavior issues. And suddenly you become a behaviorist for sloths and elephants and monkeys. And I went to England to the safari park, and I thought, oh, this would be great. I'll take a class out there. And I thought, oh, we get all the cute animals, right? And the list was python and vulture and all of these problem animals that they called us in to support them, to say, let's find out why this python is depressed. Let's find out why this vulture keeps on landing on people in this wildlife park. And to be able to really discern it so that people understand there's no such thing as a problem animal, truly, that the problems are all people made, is a really neat piece to be able to add in to say, you know what, you have a voice, you just need an interpreter.
And you know, it's amazing when you were talking about that, I thought about the fact that when wild animals, you know, break loose in America, they kill them. And it's a shame, like they don't save them just because they somehow managed to connect in with people, or they got lost, or I don't know. It's heartbreaking to think that that's their answer.
But I'm with you, there's so many other ways. Sorry, there's so many other ways to do it. And if one not necessarily could reason with them at the time, because if they're running blind, like a wild animal running blind, not knowing where to go, can be a bit tricky. But at least the universal language of love can actually calm an individual down, and one could surround them with the love and the healing and the positive thoughts. And so many miracles can happen that way. And I've been supportive there, that you could let them know we mean no harm. Let them know if you make your way this way, we can help you get back home, etc. And there's so many other ways to help them. And I've been part of that, right? Lost animals, bringing lost animals home. And even, this is going way out there, but even helping in criminal cases to talk to the animals. That's been quite interesting as well.
I mean,
so to say,
as an astrologer, I'm sitting here, you guys don't know this, but with my guests, I always try to guess what their signs are. And you got me stumped because you're very empathetic. I can feel the compassion coming from you. But then there's that travel part of you. And I'm thinking, is she a Sag? Is she a Gemini? Is she a Cancer? Like, I'm trying to or
keep trying, because there's a really logical piece about me too. So if I throw this one into the wrenches for you, I started off as a young age as a police officer. So I was law enforcement before I flipped everything upside down to go into horse whispering and reading body language and helping the animals. So my passion lies in supporting those who need voices. And it went from the people all the way into the animals and helping with rescues and stuff like that. So there is that logical piece that at first stands in your way when you do anything that's a little esoteric. And then it became my greatest gift. That very thing that hindered me of the logical mindset and the compartmentalizing became a great gift in order to be able to dialogue with the animals.
It's beautiful, though. Just the fact that you can communicate with the animals. So when is your birthday? What sign are you?
I know, I was just going to tell you that. I understand I'm a triple Taurus.
Oh, a Taurus. Wow. That's very unique.
30th of April.
Yeah, I wonder that, you know, when you said about the ability, the messages, I'm just thinking Taurus is very sensual. They're very tactile. I'm just trying to see where the connection is. So, I mean, being a triple Taurus would mean you got what, your sun, moon, and your rising all in one.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's definitely feeling and giving. That's Venus. Yeah, so it's all coming from love.
Right. All coming from love, all coming to say, if we can fix this problem, solve this issue, find the underlying cause, get the diagnosis, find the truth, right? Get the truth and justice for every single being, so that the animals are treated equally. For me, that's what it was about, to say that they're not silly, they're not stupid, they don't need to be labeled, that there's a vibration in their name, in their being. And if we just reach out to understand them, to say that this is their language, a silent language, and although we can't see it, we can sense it and feel it and hear it, just like you guys are doing, then we can facilitate great change.
That's amazing.
Which I love.
I think what's even more amazing is that a triple Taurus travels that way. They're very sedentary. I know I got a Taurus moon. So the fact that you do it, I don't know what else is going on in your chart, but girl, you travel. That's amazing. It's beautiful.
You know, I really appreciate that you're saying that. You'll probably reduce me to tears, because so many people think it's always in it for you. They always think you do things for you. And the realization is, like you can appreciate, of Taurus are very homebound. And so for me to leave the family and for me to leave 30 odd animals behind means that it's the drive. It's following your destiny. following your calling. And my calling is so great that I hate to say sacrifices, but we do make sacrifices in order to follow that calling, right? And that's really important too.
That's amazing.
That's when our heart sings.
Yeah, that's what this is about for you. I can tell it's all about love. It's beautiful. Johnnie, what sign are you? She's very quiet, and I almost want to guess. I mean, she does seem very quiet, but then there could be hiding here. Because my first thought is what, Scorpio, Capricorn, Pisces. But tell me what you really are.
Okay, I can tell you a lot about my chart. So sun, moon, and rising, I am a Cancer sun.
Cancer sun.
With a Scorpio moon conjunct Neptune. So yeah, I have this very dark, secretive, kind of watery side. And then my rising is Libra. And then I also have Mars in Aries conjunct Lilith in my 7th house of partnership.
Is that opposing your rising in Libra?
Is the 7th house opposing the 1st?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Probably, most likely.
Yeah. So apparently I'm a challenge. That's what I've been.
You got a balance. You're doing a balancing act.
So many times. And then I have Mercury in my midheaven, which is why I'm a writer and communicator.
Yeah.
And then I also have Venus and Taurus in my 9th house.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So yeah, that's
you're a witch. That's beautiful. I was trying to figure out, and then when you said the 9th house, I'm like, there's always something that leads to it, right? That desire to get into the spiritual. Well, you guys, this is amazing because I feel like we've got 2 people here that are most likely living in their heart. You don't realize it because I always look for the correlation between my guests. Both of you guys are Venus ruled. She's got Libra rising, ruled by Venus. You got Taurus rising, ruled by Venus. This is no mistake. And I always find there's a correlation, giving me goosebumps. So I love that. You know, I feel like, Johnnie, I want to give you a little bit more time to talk about your writing and what that means to you, because I could tell when you were talking, that's like your foremost mission right now is that writing. There was something you said about 7 chakras or something like that. What was that about?
Yeah, so writing through the body is a method that I created, and there's a whole long backstory to it that I won't get into in depth, but writing through the body is really at the core, it's a character development method. And so no matter what genre a person is writing, they can use this method, and it takes a writer through 7 levels of development for their character. And so it really gets down into the core and into the skin of who the character is. And, you know, many writers who can get in that really deep flow state, magical things happen when that happens. And that's what makes it so transformative. And the novel that I mentioned, I'm on like the umpteenth draft of that. But like I said, this year is the year it's polished for good. And when I was working on it, some really phenomenal magical things would happen to me. Like I wrote a scene and then it happened. And I've written characters and then I meet them. And so I feel like when I write, I am tapping into something, you know, not just deep within myself, but also something far outside myself. And it's like I'm just channeling when I get in the flow like that. And so I find it really healing. It's for me, writing is far more than just the mechanics of it. It's far more than just storytelling. It's about that transformation that happens for the writer and also for the reader. And I really do believe that stories can heal us. And so I'm a big proponent of helping people share their stories. And I also, another thing I do to kind of allow myself to help people in that way is I'm the managing editor and publisher of a magazine called Dark Moon Lilith.
Oh, wow.
And
that. I didn't
that's surprising.
I know. I might have said.
But yeah, the subtitle is dedicated to the wondrous strange. And so it's anything from like spiritualism to the occult to supernatural, and then also just really any kind of fringe ideology. So it's also a place for activists to, submit their work and talk about ideas that are considered by the mainstream fringe, but to those of us who are tuned in and can, see all the injustice in the world, the magazine is a place for them to share their ideas. And as circulation grows, the hope is that it creates some positive change in the world. So
I definitely want to get access to that to make sure I have yours. I definitely am fringe, and so and I love that when you say that, because you know what I love about having both of you here as guests. I have struggled along this path thinking, am I doing the right thing? 'Cause I'm an astrologer, right? And Abraham Hicks doesn't even believe in astrology. So people look at me like I'm a fake or something. And I'm like, I've been doing this for 40 years. It's never led me astray. 40 years? Wouldn't by now I have figured that it's not real in 40 years? But it's not especially like my daughter. I mean, our children are probably our best subjects, but I kind of directed this kid to be, she's a commissioner, a city commissioner in Seattle, working on her third master's degree, earning 6 figures a year. I'm not wrong. I know that people don't want to believe it. I can't always do the right thing for myself. I got Neptune on the midheaven, so I will go down the wrong path every time. I don't know why, it's just me. But for others, I have this uncanny ability to help them to go on their own right path. And I just feel like that's part of what I do, but it's all fringe, right? So when you tell people this, they look at you like, huh? How are you going to do that? And so it's kind of amazing when I talk to people who someone who can whisper to animals and, a witch. This is amazing. I'm having so much fun. So
can I add something there? Because when you mentioned helping yourself with it, it's the same with animal communication. You're not necessarily gifted to talk with your own animals the same way in the same depth. You're always going to have that heartfelt connection, and you're always going to have an inner knowing in a sense. But the depth that I can deliver to my clients, meaning to help them to say, your father sent this dog, and to have the evidence, the confirmation of it, to even turn around. And today I helped somebody to say, this is where you'll be moving to with your horse. It's going to look like this. He thinks he's staying there 4 months. There's so much depth to it. We're not blessed with that depth with our own animals. We have to still go through stepping stones and discovery and live the life we're supposed to live as a spiritual being in a human body. And that's how I'd see it for you too, is to go, yeah, we can read these things for ourselves, but only to a certain level. I think there's more experiences that we have to undergo.
It's so
I think that's part of it.
That's so true. I had written just the other day about just something to the effect, the man I'm divorcing, his birthday was yesterday. Yeah. And I didn't say much about it, but I did say that I felt that the experience of what I went through, although, at one point I felt suicidal, I didn't understand it the way it happened. I had lost a baby at 53, my last chance, and he left me 2 weeks later. We didn't even get married because of a baby. I don't know, I guess that was it. I had looked pretty bad, and I was convalescing, and it took all my nutrients. So, I'm to this day, I'm still on methocarbamol to this day. So, but I've never seen his face again. I've never heard his voice again.
You look amazing inside.
Oh, by the way, thank you. I mean, I must have been in good shape to even conceive at that age, right? Yeah. But the funny thing is, when you're married to someone, and I knew that guy for 7 years before we got married. So it was weird to have someone just disappear. And it took me, I went through dark night of the soul. But now, because I'm an astrologer, so many people, especially during COVID, have come to me with similar situations. And then the rise of this narcissism thing. And there's mass people doing this to other people. So I have firsthand experience of it. And I've been able to help so many other people come to grips with what's going on. Because when this kind of thing happens, you're like, what's going on? But I've experienced it. So at first it hurt, but then I realized, oh, I went through that so I could talk to people and really empathetically get there with them. Otherwise, I would just be talking at them. But when they come to me and they go, oh, my man left me and he moved down with the girl down the street, they got a house together. I'm like, girl, I know.
Yeah.
So that's so I kind of understand, even though I stumble around, it's all leading me to the right place, because if you're divinely guided, you're going to get to the right place anyway. It's what's divinely guided for you. So
and we're all listening differently, right? For me, I get guided by the animals, and so we have wildlife appear. And I feel like every piece of wildlife, when it's an unusual circumstance. So for example, an animal that wouldn't usually cross your path suddenly crosses your path. And we had several snake cross our path the other day, entangled in a situation. And you look at that to go, well, that's all about rebirth, transformation. And so for me, the guidance comes through the animals, be that hawk in the sky, snake on the ground, or indeed skunk. It doesn't matter who it is, coyote, you name it. I see the messages and the medicine in the spirit of that animal, and it helps me make decisions, and it helps me get through to realize I'm not alone in this, and here's the guidance coming. And in a way, I feel that's the same for you, because that's when we learn to listen, to go, there is a reason. We might have to experience it, not necessarily understand it, process it, and at the same time feel it, because for me, it's all about feeling this, not compartmentalizing to the point where we have no feelings. We're meant to feel it. We're meant to experience it.
And I just realized that you've got a really strong accent. Where are you from, Anna? Where are you at?
I do. I have a British accent. It's quite neutral for Britain. They won't be able to place which county I'm from because I've been away so long, but it's a British accent. And I've been in the US 22 years now.
Oh, wow. Wow.
You
I hate to say this. The guy I married was from Derby, England.
Oh, he's probably the one that walked out on you. Well, Derby was the neighboring county. I lived in Leicestershire, which
oh my God,
now, but yes,
hilarious.
He was in the neighboring county. Derby.
I told you there's always correlations every time I do these. That's so weird. This is such a small world.
And the chances of that are so slim that you actually mention where I know. Oh,
that's craziness. You know, it's so funny. I have a dream board. So before I married him, I created this dream board 2014, 2015. And I just put things on top of it and instead of removing it. But on it, there's still pictures of Derby. I noticed the other day, there's still like the little train station and all the little thing there, and I'm like, oh, I've got to take that off because I'm still probably manifesting that Derby experience in my life. So here you are. You're just walked in.
Here I am, coming strong. Next to Derby. Next to Derby.
Next to Derby. That's great.
Wow.
That was great. Johnnie, where are you located?
I live in downtown Portland, Oregon.
Oh.
And Portland's great, but I think it's the witch in me. I'm an HSP, I'm an empath, and I just really need to like depart society and go live in the woods. That's really what. And so I'm working on making that happen. But I love my own company, and I have a cat who I adore. It's just me and her. And so I want to move us out to the woods and write and help people with my still do some teaching with writing, but I'm really, as I mentioned earlier, making a change. I'm also highly intuitive and can help people with, I just know things, and my messages come in a variety of ways. I'm very visceral with my knowing, and so I feel things in my body. And I also gave birth to 3 very sensitive people. And so my younger son, especially, and we talk about how, we can't go to the grocery store without everybody's feelings kind of just slamming into us. And so it's this constant navigation, right? And it's a gift being able to do that, but it's also very taxing. And so, Yeah, I am in Portland, but yeah, getting ready to move to the woods. Don't have a time frame. I would do it tomorrow if I could, but yeah, a lot of things need to happen before I can do that.
It's so funny when you said that. I realized I I believe in past lives, and I think I might have been a witch and that lived alone in the woods. I always said I'm almost 100% positive I was burned. I was like, a witch. I'm obviously. And so I had went to a class called Healing Your Witch Wounds, and so I realized I carried a lot into this life. Um, and I don't know if either of you have felt anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. In fact, I just started doing something that I've wanted to do all my life. I've always wanted to sing the blues and like perform. And I don't have a naturally good singing voice, but I've learned if I work with somebody, I can sound pretty okay. So I just had my second lesson earlier this week, and I have such a long ways to go. But I know, and I believe this is past life stuff. I have this big blockage in my chest and throat areas. And I've always been confident about my writing voice, but my singing voice, whole other thing. Like, and I'm also fine getting up in front of a bunch of people and speaking, but singing is very different for me. And so I've always felt like there's something tight around my neck. And then, not to take this to a too morbid place, but I've had several psychics because I'm deep. I love astrology and tarot and all of that. I've had several psychics without me even asking tell me, oh no, you were definitely like silenced. You were like a powerful witch woman in past lives, and you've been silenced in your throat in a number of ways, either by having,
so you have a Scorpio moon, right?
yeah, either by having it like slit or hung or something.
Yeah.
So
I got the vibe that you were hung.
Yeah, so I'm really excited about maybe moving some of this. So we'll see what happens, but no, I definitely believe in past lives and bringing, stuff we weren't able to work out then into our present life. And I feel like I've been doing a lot of that, and to be honest, some days I'm kind of tired, but what choice do we have, right?
Yeah. Amazing how many people can feel that connection to their past, whatever that is. Some people are just like, oh, that's deja vu, or there's different words for it, but I'm like, oh no, for some of us it's really vibrant, like really vibrant, and certain things can even be found. I want my brother, I'll just say this one thing, two stories. First, my brother, when he was little, my mother was really good at regressing people. So my mother was a psychic, right? But she had regressed my brother, and I was there, I was little, but I just remember his voice changed, and he's like, give me a such and such and such and a pack of Simpsons or something, like whatever it was. He said something from her era, which had been like in the 40s or 50s. There was no way he wasn't born into 1960 that he would have had say those words. It was things that were not popular in the 70s. And I just remember my mom like fell to her knees. She was like, couldn't believe it. And then another time when my daughter was really little, I guess 3 years old, and my mother regressed her. And because we used to say there was like she had a tapeworm, she was always hungry. So whatever my mother had done, she started talking, and she said that she had starved to death, her entire tribe starved to death, and that she was part of the I know what it is because I'm part of it. It's the Puerto Rican tribe. But she said she named the Indian tribe that I know that there's no way she could have known. I never had said it around her. It came out of her. Because it's a real tribe, and they really did die that way. So it was.
Yeah, I think we all know a lot of things that get suppressed. And I've heard this theory that at the moment of our birth, we know everything, and then living is a process of forgetting. And I remember having a dream once where I was sitting on a park bench and someone, I never saw them, came up and sat next to me and touched my arm and said something in my ear. And I immediately woke up. And in that moment, I had that feeling of I knew everything about everything. And then it just almost like 5 seconds, it vanished. And so I think we all have that capacity of knowing everything. And yeah, I know I myself as a kid, I knew things that, you know, the adults in my life were like, where did you hear that? And so my grandmother was very fascinated by it, and she would do research and then found out, oh no, this is a game that was played in England back in the whatever century. And you know, and I mentioned my kids, like my daughter, she has kind of prophetic dreams. All of my kids have different ways of doing that. And I think many of us do, but I think our modern world is so busy and the stimuli is so nonstop that it's hard for us to access it. And so I feel like I could be doing a lot more magic in my life if I did not live in the heart of the city. Because I did live in the woods for a while and it was phenomenal, the magic I did, you know, like sitting by a lake and doing a ritual. And then, it was a very still lake. And then all of a sudden it's like the lake started having waves. Or doing a spell around a fire. And, you know, at just the right moment, it's like the flames swirl and shoot up. And so, you know, I think, like I said, I think we all have our gifts and powers and that kind of thing. And I don't have this to the extent that Anna does, but my kids have jokingly called me a cat whisperer because specifically with cats, I can deal with pretty much any cat. Although I will say this one I have now, I don't know where she is. She adores me. We have this thing, but she hates everyone else. And like to the point that people are terrified of her. And so I need to do some work with her, I think. But I do think you're also right. Like, I don't know if I can see what her problem is clearly enough. And she hasn't always been like this. I got her as a kitten. So I don't know what's happened, but it's something I'm going to start working on, either by myself or finding somebody. So.
And when it comes to animals, how would you be able to help someone like, say, Johnnie with what's happening with her cat? Is there a way that you could do that?
Yeah, absolutely. There's many ways. For me, it's a different depth of intuition. So some of it is intuitive, that you find yourself having automatic speech or automatic movement, automatic writing. So there's a number of ways it can come through, which is a heightened sense of intuition. And at the same time, there's that ability to connect. And often I have to put my fingers to my ears, not only to take out distractions, but to give the individual full attention. And so thus you've got to discern it. And much of the animal communication is about true discernment, so authentically discerning. So make sure that we're not putting our own perception to it, or indeed adding our emphasis or in our imagination in there, but that it's really real. And so when I connect, I always give them a voice for as long as they want it. I felt like it would be going to a foreign country where you don't speak the language, and then somebody comes along and speaks your language and you just want to pour out your heart. And so the same for the animals. Give them a chance first instead of bombarding them with questions. And then we can connect. And often they'll tell through their story what's going on. This is a piece of animal communication that everybody can access. And we talked about children, and my son's 9, coming up 9 soon, and I was a late bloomer for that. And a few things that, one, we want to keep it alive, that ability to keep it alive, to nurture it, to keep remembering, as you guys have stated. And touching on just a tiny, I'll go backwards to go forward, a tiny piece that he would come up to me and he would say things like, "Mummy, you're my favorite mummy." And I'd said, "But Joseph, you only have one mummy." And he goes, "No, I've had many mummies before you, but you're my favorite one." And instead of shutting that down, it's to be nurtured, to say, you know what, maybe I haven't met them, but I'm glad I'm the best mummy right now. So that's great. So this is a piece we love to keep alive in the youngsters, so that they remember all of their abilities. So when we come to the animal communication, I think it would be quick to be able to have an interpretation or a word association. So for me, it's always really important to be able to create that stillness to say, what is this about and what do you want to share? That's one aspect. The other aspect that's kind of neat is a reflection that animals carry. And often they will reflect behavior in a human, not in the way that we expect, but in an unusual way. So, for example, there's a chance that they could reflect how we're feeling stress. So, cats in particular, if the individual's stressed, they'll often pee somewhere. And pee is an expression of you're upset, you're concerned, you're stressed, and they pee on the pillow. Especially if they pee on somebody specific's pillow, then they're a little bit peed off, or they're acting out on behalf of another. And so they're very straightforward thinkers. You can't manipulate a cat. But they will have this expression to say they could be healers, and they could be acting it out to say, I've got to get you in nature. So one thing to be mindful of if we're looking at a life lesson might be if we're feeling too crowded by society, perhaps a cat could act it out to go, I don't want people near me because you're feeling too crowded. You're feeling too overwhelmed. You're feeling like you're not in touch with nature. And so because you're feeling that way, I will keep the world at bay for you. So even without connecting, and it's hard because we can't for ourselves see the wood for the trees, it's a way for the cat to express, to go, I'll take this on for you and I'll act out how you're feeling inside. And so this behavior could alter. Now, another piece we can do to that is go, where's the timeline as to when this happened? Because when we look at the timeline, you can pretty much go, oh yes, penny drops. This is how I was feeling at that time, or this is how I shifted how I was feeling at the time. And they'll take that on for you, which is really fascinating. They have that power. They can take on physical. So sometimes they'll take on a physical disease, etc., on behalf of. They're reflected. So if people have reported husbands having heart concerns, heart failure, heart attacks, and then they report the miracle that hubby's okay, but the dog passed. There are times where the animals could take it on for us. And I know that feels a little bit left wing, but when they're so connected on a soul basis, they can act out not only behavior, but also the physical. They can take it on for us. So it's
you know what? This is fascinating and not at all surprising because so I have an autoimmune condition, and she now has a condition that's basically the equivalent of that in cats.
Wow, you're giving me the chills underneath here.
And I've told my vet this, and she said, I hear that a lot from clients. And then through postings on Facebook, I've also met several other people in the past couple of weeks who said the same thing. Like, I have an autoimmune condition, so does my cat. And yeah, my kitty, there is something about it. She's the smartest cat I've ever owned. And I don't want to go off and talk too much about her because I could do that. But I do definitely feel like our nervous systems are kind of etched on each other. And I just want to get us to the woods because I do have this feeling like I am making her sick, or our life is making her sick. I don't know. So yeah, anyway, that's fascinating.
I wanted to say something. My daughter and son-in-law they're both ill. They have illnesses. My son-in-law has seizures, and my daughter has POTS, which sometimes it's almost like a seizure. So she got a service dog, and he's adorable. I call him my grand dog. He's just a baby. But he was diagnosed with seizures. All three of them.
Just like little bodhisattvas. Yeah. That's kind of precious. Yeah.
I didn't know that happened, but now I see that's,
yeah.
And it's about identifying it a little bit to realize the animals can come into their bodies and have their soul's contract and their path that they're taking, like you and I. So they've got the equivalent emotions, they've got family dynamics. And so they could have their journey to state, okay, you've got to get through trauma, or you've got to get through abandonment, just like you and I would. So that could be their own thing. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes we see individuals with parallel paths to state, you know what, I've experienced this in my childhood and so has the animal. So now we've got a parallel path. Mm-hmm. And then the third option would be the one where that animal could take it for you. So I feel like it's important that we look at all three, so we don't jump on the bandwagon to go, oh, they've taken it on for us. Perhaps they haven't. Perhaps it's their own journey. And that's really big to consider. Which one is it? And it keeps us exploring. It doesn't keep us just stating, this is it. Everything's absolute. It's not absolute. One can look at that to go, how is this animal flowing with it? And what is their contract? And when people wake up to that, then we realize the depth to which animals are talking and how they are supporting us as we move forward in this world, which is so cluttered at the moment.
Amazing. It's amazing. I was just thinking when you were mentioning your cat earlier, for some reason it reminded me of my witchy days. And I was a young girl, and I was really into becoming a white witch. And I was pretty good, really good, too good. And so one night I was sleeping and I woke up and there was a cat on my face, sleeping on my face. And I had a nervous breakdown because I had no cat. It must have came through the window. It was a black cat on my face. And I showered and screamed, and they gave me like pills. And I mean, I get goosebumps because I had no cat. So I'm assuming it was trying to be my familiar. Maybe it called out to it. I don't know. But to this day, I'm like, I always lock my windows at night. Like, I still can't believe that happened.
Bless. You keep the windows open. This poor cat probably underwent this complete journey to find you, and then knew something was going on, so was trying to heal your head and your thought patterns and doing all this work, and then you don't quite understand him.
Chased out the house and screamed and cried for days. It's such a shame. I wasn't aware. I was not aware that they carried so much within them. Like, even the idea of familiars at that time, that they would even be drawn to us, like other animals could sense what's going on and feel that they can come and be a part of it or take it on or any of those things. So
they'll find you. You know, the animals will show up at our house. It's incredible. We've now got 35 animals, and there's a lot of them here. And there's horses, so dog, cats, horse, alpacas, sheep, goats, stray cats, funnily enough, and chickens. So a ton of individuals are finding their way here, and a lot of them will find them through my husband. My husband's got this huge heart, and he's the one that they will come to, where they might even have other homes, but they want to live here, so they choose to live here. And that's always interesting. So that will happen to people, where the stray will show up, or you cannot avoid your destiny, that this individual is supposed to be in your life. And that's always magnificent to realize it. You talked about past lives, but that reuniting is important too, to bring you both together again, which for me is a big deal. I believe I've got 2 soulmates. My dog's now passed over, my horse is still here, but both of them so important to me. And talk about past lives. Excalibur, who's my Spanish Mustang, teaches the world about past lives in this lifetime. He shows everybody in class how he died in my arms in, what was it, about the year 2001 or 2002, he died in my arms. And he shows himself then, and he gives all the details from California as to when we met. He gives his color, his breed, his age, the circumstances in which we knew each other. And then he shows himself today. And every single class, he's taught thousands of people about reincarnation in this lifetime. It's incredible. So you want to teach in reincarnation? Have my horse there.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Oh, that's beautiful. It's so amazing what we can do when we realize what's there.
Yeah.
Like, because there's so much beauty and so much magic happening all around us all the time.
Yeah.
We're just not really aware of what's happening or that it's part of our journey or the magic. And I just love the fact that all these animals, there's 35 souls that you've managed to save and, love and cherish. That's beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
I have no animals, and I regret that. I have a grand dog, but I live in the city. I'm in Seattle, and my goal is to get into a place where I can have a pet and get a dog or a cat. I think it's probably a good thing. I don't know if I want to be a cat lady at this age, but it's that age, it's time to get a pet. It's so, after losing I don't have my husband or my child. It's probably a good idea to get a pet right now.
Yes, there's so many healers with the animal kingdom that could support you, and it is life changing. Honestly, it's so life changing to realize how they're sent to us for specific reasons, how they can get us to heal our hearts. They can do energy healing on the heart, and just by their presence there, depending on who you choose, because the cats can be a little bit more stoic on times, versus dogs are known for their loyalty. So there's all these different individuals, and it doesn't necessarily mean the species, but we can find them. And if we put it out there in the world that you're looking for a certain type of individual, it's like having the dream board, right? Then they will come in the most unexpected ways.
Hopefully not to sit on my face in my sleep.
that is that's slightly unexpected.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. I feel like so inspired now to go and get myself a little service dog or something. Because I have, I keep thinking if I could just have a little pet or whatever. And they always say that that's good for us individuals to have a pet because it helps us to stabilize our moods and our even our
I know enough people in Seattle that I could send you to a few that have a lot of animals that you could borrow, and you could get a sense around them, and then you could get your fix and figure out where you want to head with it.
I love it, and I love it. I love it. Well, I'm looking and I see it's almost 3:00. So this is what I'm going to do. Johnnie, I'm going to start with you. I want any final words and by the way, you guys in the chat, put your website links and anything you want me to promote for you, because I think I sent you guys an email, but I'm not sure you guys had a chance to fill it out.
Yes, I did that. But
you did? Okay, so I should have that somewhere.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I've got it so I don't not have it. Oh, writingthroughthebody.com. Reach out to horses.com. I love it. I love it. Okay, so Johnnie, we'll start with you. Whatever final words you want to leave with us, any insights, wisdom. I want to let you know that I love that you were here today. So whatever you want to share, go for it.
Wow, I don't know where to start with that. I'm excited to meet you. I will say that because I had the same astrologer for many, many years, and she unfortunately passed a few years ago. I felt like the only person who truly knew my soul no longer exists. And so I don't know. I'm excited to know another astrologer. I could definitely use some insights right now. I also bring people pre-COVID. I bring people on the train up to Seattle on writing retreats. We write on the train. So maybe someday we'll meet.
Johnnie, I would
Seattle. And yeah, I don't know. I'm in this weird in-between place where like I said, kind of moving from one thing to another. And so I'm in that weird headspace where it's just all a question mark for me. So I don't feel like I have words of wisdom right now. Yeah, I'm just kind of at a loss, which is unfortunate that I have this time, but to be honest, that's where I am.
Moon. The sun is in Taurus.
That's where I am right now. So
I've got Neptune on the midheaven in Scorpio, and I feel the same way. I mean, I'm operating and everything, but I'm like, the sun's in Taurus. I'm just gonna float on until we get to Gemini. I mean, crazy. So Anna, any final words? Because I'm so excited that you were here, and I'm just bubbling over with it.
You know, I do. I've had, like everybody else, many ebbs and flows in my life and many ups and downs. And my former career led me to the very place I am at today. I couldn't avoid it. It was a head-on car accident. There was a mental, emotional breakdown in the service. And my horse had problems, and every single path led to California. I lived out of a suitcase for multiple years, didn't have any money to my name, and followed a calling, is a good way to say it. That calling set me on this path. Ever since then, every single business decision I've made has been faith driven. Every move I've made, every contact I've made has been faith driven. And what that means for me is to connect with my heart and to see, even if the head says that that business decision, like being part of a book, would not be right, I still went ahead and wrote the book with a number of people and saved lives. And the people wrote to me to say, this chapter helped me, or this chapter put me on the path, or saved my life. So whenever I haven't had money to create DVDs or write a book, I did it anyway. And every decision was to serve, to support, to serve, save, help. And it's all through guidance and all through going into the heart to check in to see if it's the right thing to do. Now with COVID and the things going on with the government and all these other things that can jade us, and it feels like there's challenges, and even walking through molasses in that sense, it'd be difficult to keep the head above water for most people. But if we can connect to our source, connect to where the heart wants to lie, make decisions from the heart, we'll always be on the right path. We'll always be on the right path. My family and I moved from Colorado this summer to North Carolina. We moved during COVID, during a pandemic. We took 4 vehicles with 4 trailers, and every single family member, meaning animal, there were 20 odd, we brought with us. No animal got left behind. So a convoy of 4 vehicles. We did it not knowing if we would get the farm on the other end that we were moving to. It was done. The bank turned us down last minute. They gave us a mortgage for 6 months and then withdrew the offer. So we moved in good faith, which is silly to do and against everybody's advice, but it was meant to be so. And that was all not silly, going in the heart to go, oh, I'm going to do this anyway, or throw everything out and I'm going to do it. Not at all. It was to listen, to learn to listen to guidance. And so for my piece, it would be for people to check in as to where your guidance is coming from. Is it coming from the animals, from God, the universe, spirituality? Where are you getting your guidance from? And to tune in, because when you tune in, you will be taken care of. Your faith will grow, your gratitude will be grand, and you'll be able to stay above what is happening right now. So that's my wish for everybody listening.
That is so beautiful. I love that. Thank you so much. I agree with you, by the way, 100% about living in our hearts. I'm also a sacred soul light healer. And that's what we do, is we are spreading love, right? We're spreading that love, because that's how we're going to heal the world. If it can be healed, that's how we're going to do it. So I want to thank both of you. I can't believe it's already 3 o'clock. I can't believe it. And you're both welcome to come back anytime. I do these Thursdays. Yeah, anytime, because I just love it. And I will make sure I get you guys both copies of this once I get it ready for distribution. And let's just party on out. I always put on some party music, and we'll party on out and wave goodbye to everyone. And I, again, want to just thank you both for being here today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Guys, thank you. Lovely to meet you.
Lovely to meet you too. I still can't believe you were close to Darby. That's amazing.
Sure, you got some moves in there somewhere. Let's see the music.
Yeah. I made this. I made this song. That's Neptune on the midheaven. Blessings, you guys. Blessings.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.